Yeah, it's good that finally we have a bill, and I'm sure, and after having discussed with many policymakers and industry experts, multiple modifications to this bill will achieve the desired results in the times to come. Now, let us look at what are the basic principles of this bill. It is talking about a much more fair compensation. Historically, we did not, there was no scientific basis of fixing the compensation. For example, in a city like Delhi, the circle rate for land in the rural areas is still 53 lakhs only per acre. Now, when the government acquires the land from the farmers, it's only paying 53 lakhs, which is not at all practical. Then it talks about relief and rehabilitation of landowners. This is very pertinent, especially where we are talking about large projects to come up, namely dams, namely SEZs, other large PPP projects where a lot of people will be usurped from their land. They'll have to be removed from their land and resettled elsewhere. So this provision will come in handy there. There would be multiple checks and balances at various levels when the government acquires land. It talks about a retrospective effect on the land where uh, the any land which has been acquired in the past 5 years, if it has not been utilized properly by the buying agency, there is provision in this bill also to return back the unused land back to the farmer. The other good thing about this bill is when the land is acquired by the government and then sold to a third party company, whether it is a private company, whether it is for industrialization, whether it is for a residential project, the landowners by default can become a stakeholder in that. Now, this last bit, which though is good in intent, is what actually scares the private sector. Let's look at how does the private sector make profits and legitimate profits. Is that they move into a city well ahead of time and buy land at the prevalent market prices on that day, which effectively means that they get into something called the land banking, which is a very legitimate way of doing business. They invest their capital, hold on to the asset for a good 5 to 10 years, and then start developing it. Now, let us also not ignore that we as a country would are looking at urbanizing our cities from almost 27% of the population living in cities to about 42% over the next couple of decades. Now, that requires a whole lot of new commercial activity, industrial activity, residential activity, and we need to create avenues for economic activity. Now, all of it will come up on land, which is the most important basic ingredient for urbanization. Now, the provisions of three provisions actually hamper this process. One is retrospective. Second, the bill says multi-crop land cannot be acquired. Now, you need land in contiguity to create projects, whether it is road projects, dams, or even township projects. Now, how does one determine what land is multi-crop and what is not? And you cannot buy in patches. You have to buy in contiguous thing. Second is when a private sector company pays the legitimate value of the land and purchases it, not acquires it, why would they want multiple stakeholders involved in it after paying the money for it? Else, a private sector only enters into a transaction with landowners or farmers when it is a joint venture or a joint development kind of a transaction. Now, failing that, there is fair skepticism of troublemongers, especially when you also have to obtain 80% consent or consent from 80% of the landowners. Now, there are other tenets to this bill. which kind of distract the private sector from investing without any fear or recon from the circumstances. Namely, the tenants on a piece of land are also covered under this bill as the affected party. Now, the private sector can only acquire land from the landowner or whoever owns the land as far as the revenue records are concerned. Now, how does one determine whether there was a tenant whose subsistence depended on that piece of land? Now, that is always a cause of concern because it could be a problem tomorrow. The other provision of the bill talks about houses for all the displaced. Now, I personally feel when the government acquires lands in large tracts for PPP projects or for infrastructure projects, the government can take responsibility of all this. When the private sector purchases land, they cannot create provisions for housing for pretty much every acquisition, every purchase, because they end up buying from multiple people. Also, let us not forget that the land records in India are not computerized, are not available in a data-driven form. Hence, the process of purchase of land itself is a very tedious process, and there are very few expert organizations in that business. Of course, Certus is one organization which is trying to occupy that space, but land being a very high local level expertise business, one cannot aspire to have a national footprint. Although there are qualifying organizations in all parts of the country who straddle across both the spectrums in terms of understanding of the policy philosophy and also have strength at the grassroots level. The other worrying factor is, yes, socially we have to take care of the underprivileged, the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, etc., etc. Now, the private sector cannot distinguish between people while we are in the mode of purchasing land. Right? One purchases land, raises debt, capital on it, develops a project, hands over the project or monetizes the project and then moves on. Now, this whole thing, if it slows down the entire process, time overruns and cost overruns can be detrimental to the interest of the end consumer. Let's not forget that the government proposes to increase the compensation by 4 times, 2 times and 4 times to urban and rural landowners, which essentially is an indicator, if coupled with the cost and time overruns, will have a cascading effect on the final pricing. So some people do write into me and ask whether it's a death knell for the so-called category of affordable housing. I won't say it is the death of the category, but yes, if the prices are driven up, if we do not find new technologies to bring down our cost, we might see increased slumification, especially of the larger cities in the country. Yes, under the Delhi Master Plan, the government has brought in some innovative tenets, namely about land pooling, etc., where the landowners legitimately can be part of the urbanization and also get a much better realization of value on their piece of land. Now, can this be rolled out across the country? I'm not sure. Can Delhi do it? Quite possibly yes, because Delhi, the Union of India as well as the state are stakeholders, and both with the farmers or the landowners are trying to move positively in that direction, and thankfully large corporate houses, HNIs, institutional capital has already entered into Delhi after sensing this opportunity. Now, is there a linkage between the Delhi Master Plan, the land pooling policy and the land acquisition bill? Quite clearly, yes. Let's be sure that the political scenario emerging is going to be in favor of the Delhi Master Plan. The Delhi state goes into election mode sometime in November 2013, and then we have the Lok Sabha elections coming up in 2014, I guess about April, May. So there is fair amount of land to be developed for urbanization. We're looking at almost 65,000 acres of land coming into residential development. We are looking at a category called low density residential plots, namely farmhouses, which will come up on 1 acre plots. And all of it has been given a very fair impetus by the land acquisition bill, because for infrastructure in these areas, the government requires the land, and the Delhi farmers would willingly part with portions of their land for roads and power and other civic amenities to the government, and be happy to accept 4 times compensation on their land. Let's also not forget those farmers who lose some bit of land for infrastructure. The balance land also is available to the private sector for development of projects, and but naturally the appreciation of the capital values are much higher on developed projects. So all in all, a decent bill, I would say. They can't pass a verdict on the thing, but it's a decent bill, but which needs a lot more practicality to come into it by way of various modifications. Lastly, land is a state subject, so each state has to look critically at what is good for their state, both in terms of protecting the interest of the landowners as well as for their urbanization or commercial needs for people to come and make a livelihood there, and in general improve the quality of life in those cities. So let's keep our fingers crossed and look for the modifications rather than just feel happy about what has happened in the Lok Sabha in the past 1 week.